Iraq is no stranger to violence, unrest and war. But right now, there is an anti-government protest movement building that is threatening to upend the country's political system and its ruling elites. For 2 months now, protests, dubbed the Tishreen Revolution, have engulfed Iraq, leaving hundreds of people dead and thousands more injured. Previous bouts of unrest have been ended by government reshuffles and promises for reform. But these protests are the biggest since the fall of Saddam Hussein, and even the resignation of the Prime Minister has not quelled the movement. So, who are these protesters? What do they want? And is Iraq's entire political system on the brink? This is Tahrir Square in the Iraqi capital. Just across a bridge up ahead is Baghdad's Green Zone, home to many government buildings and embassies. Protesters are angry over governmental corruption and poor public services, triggered by a move to oust a popular general. Soon, water cannons move in to disperse the crowd. Protesters are surprised by the heavy-handed response, and then gunshots begin to ring out. Some protesters are killed, and surprise quickly turns to anger. This violent confrontation was the spark that plunged Iraq into its worst crisis since the emergence of Islamic State. Protests soon spread to southern and central provinces, exposing widespread grievances over how the country is governed. But anger and frustration have been building here for years. Iraq is a multi-ethnic and multi-religious society. The majority of Iraqis are Shia Muslim, but there is also a significant Sunni Muslim population and a Kurdish-dominated north. When Saddam Hussein was deposed after a US-led invasion in 2003, a new system of governance was formed that was designed to share power among Iraq's different ethnic and religious groups.
As the years go on, a lot of Iraqis realize they're not actually part of this. Right? And although these Shia parties promise to defend the Shia, these Kurdish parties in the north promise to protect the Kurds, the Sunni leaders promise to protect the Sunnis, what they realize is actually they're just protecting their very small networks by giving them jobs and money and becoming incredibly wealthy.
Basra in Iraq's south has some of the country's biggest oil fields in its surrounds. It's vital to the national economy. But economic power has not brought prosperity to the people living here. Unlike past protests in Iraq, the unrest is being led by disillusioned youth, many of whom never or barely experienced life under Saddam Hussein.
صار لي 16 سنة عايش حرمان ومجاعة يعني حياتي بين قوسين عشتها ظلم.
We're talking about early 20s, late teens, a majority of whom are single men without jobs, without permanent jobs, many without any job. So they're much more willing, with nothing to lose, to sit in the street and wait it out and not just buy into government promises of reform.
The Iraqi government has offered some small reforms to help create jobs for the young. So too has Prime Minister Abdul-Mahdi resigned. But that's done little to ease the tension.
They're also beginning to demand sort of obscure things like a nation or dignity. And they're beginning to demand for the end of the political system much more than they would in previous protest movements.
نريد وطن وحدة. ثانياً نريد شلع قلع كلهم ولا واحد يبقى. أبد شلع قلع. حرامية كلهم حرامية. نورت السفارة نورت.
Anger has also been directed at Iran. Here in Najaf, the Iranian consulate was burned to the ground amid celebrations. Since 2003, Iran has steadily increased its influence in Iraq. Last month, The Intercept published a report based on leaked intelligence cables fully revealing the extent that Iran has entrenched itself into the political and religious institutions of Iraq.
So if you're a protester, if you're an Iraqi who's disillusioned, who's not benefiting from the system, you kind of begin to develop grievances against Iran. Not for anything, but specifically because Iran is backing a system that you don't benefit from, and Iran is supporting the elite that don't represent you, that don't respond to your needs.
So too does Iran stand accused of assisting in the violent crackdown. Security forces are alleged to have killed hundreds of people over the last 2 months, but the government has deflected blame onto rogue elements within the security apparatus.
So it looks confusing because you can't point your finger on any one group that's committing the violence, but the argument that we've been making is that there's a design in this. It's not just by chance, right? This allows all the groups and all the elite to escape accountability because you can't point your finger on one group or one leader.
It's clear the protesters want an overhaul of the post-2003 political system, which has failed to bring wealth and equality despite Iraq's enormous oil resources. Prolonged conflicts and security fears have deflected attention away from the brazen corruption and patronage of the ruling elite. But with ISIS defeated and Saddam Hussein's dictatorship long since over, young Iraqis are now demanding a chance at prosperity.
مستحيل نمل أو نتراجع إذا ما نحقق هدفنا، إذا ما نجيب حق كل شهيد راح وضحى بنفسه على مود نبقى، مستحيل نتراجع. لو نموت كلنا لو نعيش.